We're spoilt for choice on this show when it comes to examples of government waste, and this one is an absolute beauty. The South Australian government spent $360,000 moving an agency from one department to another, only to move it right back again just 2 years later. Skills South Australia, which facilitates vocational training, was part of the Department of Industry, Innovation and Science. But the government decided to spend $200,000 on consultants who advised that it should be moved to the Department of Education. And so they spent another $160,000 making the move. So that's $360,000 all up. But just 24 months later, they decided it doesn't really fit there. And so they moved it straight back because, after all, it's only your money. The opposition leader in South Australia, John Gardner, told the media, "This story is like something straight out of Utopia, that ABC show that satirises government departments." He said it would be funny if we weren't in the middle of a cost of living crisis and businesses weren't suffering from skills shortages right around our state. To have so much money spent on shuffling departmental deck chairs around, only to move them back a year later, is a very costly embarrassment for the Premier. Liz, it's hard to imagine more ineptitude than this. What are the bureaucrats thinking?
Seriously, the guy who writes the show Utopia literally said it's really not that hard. The comedy writes itself. You just pay attention to what government's doing and then we enact it and everyone thinks it's hilariously funny, but it really is art depicting real life when it comes to government departments. And we still don't know what this year's move cost South Australians. So we know about the $360,000. What did this year's move cost? Well, they're not going to let us know anytime soon, are they? They don't want us to do the addition and find out what a joke this is. This genuinely reminds me of season 1 on Utopia, where they had this massive rebrand. It's going to be an inspiration. This is really important. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on the consultancy fees, being pitched a new logo. And then they're painting it up on the wall. They're getting all their business cards, their letterheads redone. And the entire time you're watching the episode going, that is the Pink Floyd symbol. The beam of light hitting a prism, resulting in a rainbow. And by the end of that episode, they've realised that and had to change it all back. I mean, this is exactly that episode.
This stuff happens all the time, right? This is just one of the ones we've found out about. Governments do this stuff all the time, particularly when there's a change of government. So the Libs disappear and Labor comes in, or vice versa, right? And they move around various parts of departments. And I'm thinking in South Australia again, when I was there, they had the Department of Education and Child Services. That then became the Department of Education and Child Development. So it went from DEX to DECT because they moved part over here and another part over there. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars that they spend making new logos, they need new letterheads, all that sort of stuff. They break up the Transport Department from the Environment, but on and on and on. This happens every time there is a change of government. Literally millions of dollars get spent on this stuff, which is just about moving one set of workers from one office to another so that one minister has jurisdiction over them instead of another minister. And they don't care about what it costs to do that. Like, why can't you just leave it where it is? It doesn't need to move. The proof here being that 2 years later, they moved them back from whence they came.
So you waste hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money. And the interesting thing is, consultants advised us to do this, which provides cover so that they can waste hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars and no one is ever held accountable because consultants.
Yeah, in this case, I believe it was PwC. So the government, the bureaucrats get to go, well, you know, we were just following the professional advice that we squandered $100,000 on. So how are we supposed to know that this wasn't for a better and more flourishing society? It is utterly maddening, especially, like you say, Caleb, in the middle of a cost of living crisis, when this money could be so much better spent. I can't imagine how South Australians are feeling today waking up to this news.
Well, imagine how many young people could be put into vocational training
exactly,
for $360,000. We've got a shortage of tradesmen, but they're spending money moving desks around instead of training people for trades.
And plus the expense of doing it again, taking it back to the old department where it was.